Grande Prairie-Smokey.
The NDP government's caribou draft plan in response to the federal government's species at risk regulation is causing substantial concerns by affected industry and communities. Already there is reforestation of seismic lines taking place before consultation is finished. Rumors of knocking down 10-foot trees to plant seedlings are circulating. Presently, the cost of reforestation is about $16,000 per kilometre. Knowing that reforestation can happen naturally and that 150,000 of the 250,000 kilometres of seismic lines could cost $2 billion, do you think that this is money well spent, regardless of who is paying for it?
Good question.
The Honourable Minister, Environment and Parks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And of course, we've held numerous stakeholder meetings on the topic of range planning, and we have listened to communities. And as a result, we have written to the federal government to ask for three things. We have asked them to partner with us on a socioeconomic impact study. We have asked them to really step up in terms of an infusion of federal funds to restore habitat. And we are asking for them to listen to us as we will bring a delegation to Ottawa to discuss these matters with them, Mr. Speaker. I'll have more to update the House on in the supplementals.
First supplemental.
Given that the Minister just said today that she suspended the parks consultation to further consultation, not cancelled but suspended, and given that the Minister has also agreed to do a socioeconomic impact study and has went to the feds about that, and now I hear too that she's asking for federal funds. So I guess my question is, what took so long, and what have you done to represent Albertans by lobbying the federal government on the 65% undisturbed requirements?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll take the 65% clarity question out of that whole basket of questions. That is, in fact, the requirement under the Species at Risk Act that the plans articulate over a period of decades. We're talking decades here, Mr. Speaker, over a 50-year plan, the restoration of habitat, Mr. Speaker. That is why companies have worked with us on those long-term restoration plans, whether it's the forestry companies or oil and gas companies. In fact, I just met with Ancana yesterday on this matter, Mr. Speaker. There are a lot of really good ideas out there. There are a lot of firms who want to work with us on this and make sure that we hold off those federal...
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Second supplemental.
Given that the moratoriums on timber harvest are already causing job losses, contrary to the promise the Minister has made, and given that these moratoriums have caused over-harvest in some areas breaking their own regulations, how much longer do Albertans have to suffer from these moratoriums before the proper plan is in place that protects jobs?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And of course, we are recovering from the largest economic downturn in the history of the province, and that's why we've made it very clear to the federal government that caribou range plans need to have the requisite amount of flexibility in them. We've also heard concerns from communities, and that's why we're suspending consideration of conservation lands, Mr. Speaker, and we will not sacrifice jobs of hardworking Albertans, Mr. Speaker. And as for tenure, we continue to work with those companies, Weyerhaeuser, West Fraser, and others to find solutions, and certainly those firms are in a solution space with us.